So Tim, thank you so much for agreeing to share your experiences of participating on the Mentoring Women in Business program with me. You were able to participate through our corporate partner and your employer, PayPal. And you worked together with your mentee from May 2019 until May 2020. So let us go back to the beginning. What made you decide to apply for the mentoring program, and what did you hope to get out of it?
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. Well, basically, at PayPal, it's a good company to work for because they really encourage you to develop potential. And there's many opportunities, many groups within the organization that exist to help others, to understand more about diversity or inclusion, helping others perhaps less fortunate. And I'm part of what's called a Gives team, and we help various charities in Luxembourg where I'm based. And I noticed that the Cherie Blair Foundation was one of the things where we were encouraged to give our time. And I thought, oh, this is very interesting because I've always worked in my past careers with teams of people, and I've managed people, and I really enjoyed that. I love developing people. I've seen people come on and fulfill their potential, and I kind of missed that experience. And I thought that applying to join the mentoring program would kind of help me fill that gap.
That makes sense. Yes, and exactly what the program is made for. So in May 2019, you started working with your mentee. And do you remember, how did you build a trusting relationship with her? Did you have any kind of techniques or approaches, strategies that you brought in?
Yeah, well, of course, you better ask my mentee that. But I mean, I like to keep things really simple. I think the training was really helpful. I mean, I think it was about 4 or 5 hours, but it really stressed the need to kind of not push the agenda, and encouraged you to develop your listening skills. I'd say that was key. And I remember also, let the mentee set the pace. Don't put pressures on yourselves that you can't achieve. Try not to dictate outcomes, because that might suggest something's wrong. And I think by following those simple guidelines of not kind of be too prescriptive, I think that really helped build that trust with my mentee.
That's great. And did you take a long time kind of building that trust? We've heard from some of our mentoring pairs that they want to kind of dive into business straight away. How did you do that in the beginning?
Oh, what was very interesting about my mentee was that she was very experienced in her business and very successful, and had built a female team around her, I think about 8 people, and in a specific industry, which I knew nothing about. So I found it very interesting because I'm quite curious. And so I tend to ask lots of questions and listened and got a real picture of all the sort of motivations and the aims and what motivated this lady to get to where she had. And I suppose I would say that it was we went at quite a slow pace, to answer your question, to begin with, and I would say almost 1 or 2 sessions before I felt confident enough to begin to suggest strategies to help achieve some of the kind of modest goals that we were looking to achieve. And that's how I built that trust I talked about earlier, and how we set the tone. So from the start, things were kind of relaxed and effortless, and it wasn't driven. It was kind of relaxed, but with a purpose, if that makes sense.
Relaxed with a purpose. That's a great one.
Yeah,
and I also Yeah, no, that's, I think we should put that as a slogan.
Yeah.
And it's great, yeah, the way you describe your curiosity into your mentee and her business, and that then really influenced, yeah, the kind of feedback you gave her.
Mm.
So you know that in our program, mentees are supposed to drive the mentoring relationship. And
Yeah.
was that easy for your mentee? Did you have to guide her in that?
I think I don't think so. No, I mean, I think all along my mentee knew, what she needed to do. She just needed somebody from a completely different sphere, from a completely different background, not an expert at all in that industry, to come in and objectively listen and ask questions and listen and use the training that I've had through my commercial career, working for different, largely international companies like PayPal, who have, who themselves are passionate about training and development, and taking those skills and bringing those to bear. And that was what it was about, really. It was, wasn't really anything, as I said, more than that.
Great. So you say that your mentee worked in a sector that you did not know anything about. Did you do any kind of research into the sector, or did you just kind of have your mentee guide you through kind of learning about the sector?
I actually almost deliberately didn't want to become a sort of how can I put it, a part-time expert. I wanted to use the sort of skills that I developed over the years of managing people, developing people, working in a commercial environment. I wanted to bring those skills into play, rather than try to bring any technical. I mean, that kind of scared me in many ways, because what I realized very quickly was this person, had spent her career in that industry. And I found it very interesting to ask questions, and so I learned a bit about what the drivers were of the business. But I didn't see my role as being going in there saying, oh, you start looking at P&L, or try to be some sort of ad hoc strategist, or some sort of oh, you should cut down your staff costs. I mean, that's not the management style that I was bringing to the relationship. I was more involved in kind of trying to see areas where I thought there could be problems later on, where there might be challenges ahead, and suggesting ways which we could prepare for those eventualities. And indeed, it was sometimes that preparation and planning that helped us later on. I mean, I work in PayPal with a team of people who manage risk, and I have a great admiration for those guys. Those teams that sort of spend their lives professionally analyzing risks, and I felt that that I could perhaps bring in some of that as well, and yeah, it proved helpful.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think that's really interesting to hear that you really helped your mentee kind of zoom out for a moment and look kind of into the longer term. That's really interesting. So during a mentoring relationship, mentees and mentors are able to kind of set goals together. And what were the main goals that you worked with your mentee, and what did you accomplish together after working together for 12 months?
I think I suppose the goals were, having developed the trust and kind of worked out how we could help one another, and to sort of reinforce the idea, the framework, making it clear, where I had skills I could offer. I kind of laid out, if you like, the Tim Allitt offering. This is what I think I can help you with, and that's where that's where I'm comfortable. I'm not comfortable, as I said earlier, in doing things that might be to do with the business specifically, or I mean, we in the end, we worked on planning the drivers of things like growing the business, handling impacts such as, we got hit by, obviously, as everyone else did, the pandemic, but in her region there was quite a lot of economic downturn, and we handled these one by one, and then we planned for things that were going to be happening, and we planned for eventualities, such as customers perhaps leaving, or how we were going to handle perhaps high level reduction in overhead, and we worked through some scenarios there, and quite frankly it was quite helpful, because these things, when they happened, we felt pleased that we thought these things through. And because I always felt, that my mentee had the answers, and my role was to kind of question and listen and challenge anything that stood out to me, so that we can, in the end, it made decision making better. And I think, because I had this massive respect for my mentee, and the way she kept her team together, and the passion and the knowledge and her enthusiasm, and I just wanted to support that and guide it in a gentle kind of way, and because I didn't think I needed to really give a lot of leadership as such. It was more kind of going through the various, setting goals together, which were not, as I said, too aggressive, but we felt satisfaction from when they came good.
Yeah. And I'm sure many of our mentors currently on the program or about to join are thinking, okay, so many businesses across the world are facing a pretty big crisis at the moment. So since you just mentioned that that's something that you worked on with your mentee as well, do you have any kind of advice for mentors where they want to help stabilize their mentees' businesses or help them plan for any unexpected crises?
Well, I think, again, what I found in my experience is that the best person to ask how to cope is the person in the middle of it, because what you find is they've been through cycles of challenges before, and there are certain levers you can pull, and there are experts that you can go to, and you find that they've got those channels. So what you're trying to do, I suppose, is to make sure that all the various levers have been pulled. So, for example, without sort of going into detail, you with them in terms of what they might say, have you been to the bank? Have you investigated what support there is from the government? Have you seen what's happening in the competitive landscape? Are your competitors still active? So are there opportunities to step in on other competitors who perhaps no longer have the appetite for that business? Are there ways that you cut your overhead? You need to have an office. And these are actually things that we put into place, including closing down the office, coming up with a sales strategy, changing the angles slightly in terms of the sales approach, because that was my background. My background is sales and commercial marketing, and I was able to bring in that sort of transferable skill into the relationship with the mentee, which I think was beneficial, because it gave another slant. It was kind of like someone from a different environment, a different background, coming in and saying, have you thought about doing it this way or that way? But without, as I said, providing professional advice, because that would have been off our kind of agreed area of support and mutual support.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the way you really embody the way that we hope all our mentors work together with their mentees, really letting them, they're the experts of their realities and their situations, their context. So, and you're there to just kind of help them look at different angles and kind of, see things in a different way. So obviously next to the business kind of outcomes, the business goals, we also ask mentors and mentees, or we don't ask them, we also encourage them to work on personal development. What were some of the changes that you saw in your mentee after working together for a time?
Well, it's quite interesting, having spent a lot of time, as I said, coping with economic downturn, reduction of costs, helping staff improve their sort of sales performances. They're the sort of things that kind of we worked on. I took some learnings from PayPal, actually, because over the last, I've been with PayPal a couple of years, we've had some really good lessons as well. I mean, at the moment we're going through some resilience training. I use the word training. It's kind of I suppose it is training, really, but it's helping us be more positive. And I think, what better timing, to be looking at the world at the moment, which is at a time when, we've had a difficult year with the pandemic, and now we're looking to, hopefully to having vaccines and getting back into the swing of things. Well, we needs to be positive now more than ever. And similarly, I've had we've had at work a lot of discussions and awareness about well-being and work-life balance. And one of the things, I suppose, that I was really keen to press with my mentee was her health. And I kept saying, there's so many dependencies on you, with your team, your business, the respect that your clients have for you. You must keep your health. It's so important. And we really talked through this. And I remember one thing we talked about was reclaiming your weekend. And we set these goals about, because we got agreement on this. And my mentee was saying, yeah, you're right. I don't spend enough time in the house at the weekend. I don't spend enough time away from my laptop. So we try to set times, right? Keep Saturday morning free, or keep Sunday free. I can't remember exactly the sequence, but we would return to this, and I never left it, because I passionately believe that the work-life balance, it's almost become a cliche now, but perhaps now more than ever, we need to have a positive outlook. And we need to make sure that, especially once her office closed, she had to work with her, that she spent time doing her own things and not all consuming, thinking about her colleagues and her team and the work. And then we were successful in that respect. And we would discuss things away from work, and we with her, I'm talking about, not really with her, around what she was doing at the weekends and what goals she was doing and what activities she was doing in order to step away from the pressures of work and to be positive. Well, she is a positive person, but to maintain that positivity.
That's some really great advice, and I think many people can use that, especially now with work and kind of home life so intertwined. So has being a mentor has any impact on yourself? For example, your work at PayPal, are you now a better leader, better at communicating, building relationship? What kind of impact has it had on your work?
Actually, it's quite interesting. So I've been reflecting on this. I mean, you need to talk to my boss, but I do get a lot of recognition now from people and teams that I talk to, who, I guess I'm very passionate about the work I do within PayPal, and it's just kind of specialist area. It's to do with card issuance, and it's the people I work with, they don't all know a lot about it. They may have cards or means of spending, but they don't necessarily know how it works. And so I do spend quite a lot of time with my colleagues, providing them insights into the business, more so than perhaps I need to. But I think it's important that they understand more about the business, because it is critical to our growth. And yeah, I do get recognition. I think what I've learned is I've certainly got a bit more confidence, and I think also, I'm using the same sort of skills of being curious, and also listening and trying to, give respect to people and not jump all over them. Because what I find when you've been in business a long time working in payments, you can sometimes jump over people and kind of, they don't ask questions because they think, oh, it might be a silly question. And so I try very hard to make people not feel that, and recognize that just because I know quite a lot about it all, other people don't. And I think that's, I think the going into a new world, going into a new market, going into a business, going to talk to someone from a completely different background has been valuable in terms of helping understand other people's priorities and to put yourself into a different space. And I think that's a good lesson for anybody, quite frankly.
Thank you so much for sharing that reflection, Tim. I really appreciate that. So yeah, you said that people kind of recognize you. Are you kind of formally mentoring anyone else now that you've finished the mentoring program?
Actually, yes. One or two colleagues have heard about what work I'm doing. I have a couple of colleagues who, informally, and again in the same way, total confidence. We talk about their priorities and goals, and I guess what I'm doing is a kind of mentoring, helping them develop and using those people management skills that I learned quite a few years ago, actually, when I was at NatWest Bank, funny enough. But the reality is that I've also joined another mentoring program in the payments area, and I mentor a female colleague in another region, and I'm always glad when that person comes back to me and says, can we have another discussion? I let them dictate the pace. I keep the same process of, I keep my handwritten notes. I don't use names, and I keep it, no one can read my writing, so that's gets around any GDPR issues in case any privacy people are listening. But I have that continuity. So whether this person rings me or contacts me every month or every 6 weeks or every 3 weeks, I always know, and I always make notes about what they've been saying, what their plans are, so I can pick up pretty quickly. And we have a good conversation, and with that particular individual, and then with my colleagues at work, one or two I work with, again, that's more a bit about perhaps up with management or trying to help with objectives and goal setting and these kind of things, which again is something that the Cherie Blair Foundation has helped me finesse, if you allow me to say that.
That's really great to hear. So yeah, you kind of touched upon it. There's many different ways that people can mentor, many different programs. Would you recommend the Foundations program? Do you think there's anything that sets us apart, and should more corporates get involved in such mentoring programs for their employees?
Oh, I definitely think it's a good thing when you've got these kind of extracurricular activities, and the reason I think Cherie Blair Foundation has been good, because I think I like the way it's matched us. I think that there was some skill in terms of matching myself and my mentee. I think the way that you put the questionnaire together, I think, helped find somebody with complementary skills. I think support's been good, and when I needed that, I've been on 1 or 2 courses, listened to a few seminars, and I've always felt you were there. And I've also been quite impressed, not quite impressed, I have been very impressed with the way you followed up afterwards, like we're doing now. I think too often learnings can be forgotten or dropped, and if this recording is of any help to anybody, then that'll be great, because I think that it's a great opportunity to talk to somebody, to listen to somebody in another world, another marketplace, another culture, You never get this opportunity anywhere else.
Thanks, Tim. I think that's very useful feedback for the team as well. We do our best to provide personalized support for all our mentees and mentors. So I'm glad that you feel that we were there and that you're now allowing us to learn from you as well, and other mentees and mentors can learn from you as well. So thanks so much. So actually, I think we've come to the end of my list of questions. Okay. So I'd like to kind of finish with the question whether you have any tips for prospective mentors who are about to begin their mentoring journey.
Well, that's a good question. A nice way to finish, Edgar. I'd say, yes, certainly you need to be open-minded, listen hard, be curious, and I don't know, enjoy the journey. That's what I would say.
That's a great one. Well, thanks, Tim, for sharing all these great insights. I know you're busy mentoring others, but I do hope we can welcome you back on board of our mentoring program in the future. But in the meantime, I'm sure that this recording will be very useful to our new mentors who will be joining us soon. So thank you so much for taking this time to share your reflections with me.
Been a pleasure, and great to catch up with you, Jessica, and I hope you and the team continue to do good stuff out there.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.